That goes after the news. 7 o'clock news. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're going live. Oh gosh, I was just hearing my radio, and all of a sudden, the story was so funny. I was starting to laugh. And what it is, somebody stolen, stolen 63 Christmas trees out of the back of a van. And what they've done is they planted them in the field and everything. And um, and the trouble is, when they planted them in the field, they couldn't get their van out, so they got caught by the police eventually. That's really amazing. Anyway, folks, good evening, and here we go again, Crossroads. And thank you very much for joining us once again. I tell you what, it's been really sunny here in the southwest, and now we have got one of our new guests. Tell us about yourself. What's your name? Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm Gavin. I come from the south coast of England, so it's been nice and sunny here as well today. I am an identity coach, which I help people and men specifically that have dealt with abuse and trauma throughout their childhood or any time growing up in their until their sort of mid-20s or 30s or 40s or 50s, etc., etc. You know.
Okay, because we get a lot of people on here who talk about abuse. I don't know if you've seen any of our shows or anything, but
I
there,
have, yeah, yeah.
yeah, there are people talk about their abuse. They talk about we've had human trafficking on here. We had all sorts on here. And the trouble is,
Wow.
Gavin, the trouble is abuse. You know, every relationship now, they say around about 60% out of people now in their relationship suffer some abuse or another. Do you agree on that?
I would if you look at the stats. If you look at the stats, quite understandable, to be fair.
Mm. And what made you come an identity coach?
I had 35 years of repressed emotion, and I also didn't know my own biological family. The only person in my biological family I knew was my mother, and she didn't know her biological family. And my dad left when I was 8 months old. So the idea of the identity coach is for two reasons. You know, I was abused as a kid, so I, put on a false identity to hide the fact of having any abuse or trauma inflicted, because it was easier to put a mask on, as it were,
Mm.
to stop people asking them questions and them intuitive questions. So the idea of the identity coach was I kind of pretended to be someone that I wasn't, so no one would ask them intuitive questions, you know.
Yeah, because sometimes we do, don't we? We all wear masks and everything, and we all kind of like, we all try to kind of not do things. I remember last September when we did this, when we started this because of the COVID and to help people with mental health, and because we got bigger and bigger, and um, now we're in number one somewhere. I can't remember in some podcast, whatever. But the trouble is, all I kept on, all I, for me, it was I was scared to kind of like even go on video. You know what I mean? Because of my past, because of my, because I was abused quite a long time ago, and physical and sexually abused. And the trouble is, sometimes you feel that you want to keep it to yourself because men don't talk much about what's happened to them because they just want to be macho, don't they? You know what I mean?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, it's 3 years ago you didn't hear about men's mental health. It kind of didn't exist in a
Mm.
way. It's only in the last sort of few years that it's become more sort of mainstream and social, if you like. But it's like you don't go into the pub with your mates and start talking about sexual abuse and trauma, do you? You talk about the football and work and women and all that sort of stuff. So it's, like you say, it's not very macho to talk about them sort of things, and open up. And I think it's becoming more socially acceptable now, where men are able to open up, and share their stories, much like I am myself.
Yeah, because when we do things like that, would you ever kind of like go out and tell your friends that what you've been through, or do they know already?
Well, it's only in the last year, really, that I've been sharing my story and opening it up. It was what with me. What it was is I've been self-employed for years, and I'm now employed with a company. So where we went through Christmas and a little bit of a lockdown with the pandemic and stuff, I
Yeah.
was sat at home, and like I haven't done that for 25 years. So where I was sat at home doing nothing and getting paid for it, I started thinking, and thinking a lot, and it started. And then what happened is I'd give up smoking, and I started having nightmares because I gave up smoking, and them
Yeah.
nightmares were nightmares of what happened to me when I was a child. So, and then the nightmares started becoming into sort of like my peripheral visions, and they were like flashbacks of what happened to me when I was a kid. So what I'd done is like 35 years of oppressed emotions, like the doctors, when I went to them and said, I need help with my mental health, it was like 35 years of oppressed PSD, like prolonged PTSD is what they said it was. And it
All
was
right.
very rare to have like it over 30 years, because PTSD usually comes out in the first year or 2 years or
Mm-hmm.
up to 5 years, I think it can be. I'm no professional doctor, so I wouldn't know the stats exactly, but mine was 35 years of prolonged PTSD. Tony Robbins liked to call it emotional stacking, which is pretty much what I did. So anything that happened over the years, I just sort of buried it and forgot about it and carried on, and just ignored the fact that anything bad had happened to me when I was a child.
Yeah, and sometimes though we're afraid to tell our friends because sometimes they might kind of like turn their back on us, or kind of think, oh, okay, and but you can always, when you've got good friends who's going to be there with you, you can kind of say, okay, that's fine, not a problem, it's not, and that's
Yeah,
good. But sometimes people kind of like, I was told by somebody, an artist, a music artist, and he said, you'd be lucky to have five friends in this world, five true friends, right? And he's
yeah,
totally right.
yeah. Five friends and many of associates, I
Yeah,
think is
well,
the
it's
way.
true because honestly, if you count how many true friends who will come to you, right? Just to get, you know, it's not many, is it?
It's quite hard.
It is, yeah,
It
yeah,
can be quite hard,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And the trouble is, so now you're doing this identity coaching. Tell us more about that and how you can help people.
So what I generally do, like I say, is I help men more specifically that have dealt with abuse and trauma, and I do one-to-one settings. I will be doing group settings in the future, and most of my stuff is done on Zoom at the moment because it's just easier and more efficient, and everyone's in the world of online one-to-one coaching at the
Mm.
moment. So I deal with people like that because I've been through it myself. I've got 35 years of experience of dealing with it myself. So it's easier for me because I'm finding that the guys can relate to me better because I've been through it and experienced it. So I've got the life experience, or the
Yeah, yeah.
the University of Hard Knocks, as it some people like to
That's
call
it.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Whereabouts in the southwest are you?
I'm in a place called Chichester, just in
All right,
between
okay.
Brighton and Portsmouth. Yeah, West Sussex. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, good, good. I've got friends who lives in Worthing and Brighton way,
Oh,
and
okay. Funny enough, I
yeah.
was in Worthing the other day. I done a the Worthing Mental Health Awareness Week final with a group called the Glamour Club, and there's a lady there called Janice. I'm going to do a shout out for her there, Janice Moff. She's really great. She helps people in their older years that are, a bit lonely and stuff, and she gets them all together in this biannual event, and it gives them something to do and a venue to sort of get out of the house, if you like. And then I was in another event called The Wilderness, which is run by two great guys, Mark and Matt. and that's all about getting people into the nature, getting people into nature, into the wilderness, and that like being at one with nature and
Mm.
understanding what the plants and the trees and everything can do for you, and it was amazing. It was a really, really good weekend. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed myself this weekend, and it was all in Worthing, funny enough. So yeah,
All right, yeah. I know somebody runs a football club there in Worthing.
oh, okay,
A
yeah,
good friend of mine. Um,
yeah.
when can so so if somebody comes to you, so if I came to you and said, right, I need some help, Gavin, with my abuse, what stages do you go through?
I generally run a 90-day program because I find that if you have just one or two sit-ins, there's things I find are generally so far in depth. I mean, a lot of guys that I've spoke to so far where they blame it on their marriage splitting up, or they blame it on work, or they blame it on something else. And generally 9 times out of 10 you can always take it back to what I like to call the sponge years. So like between 0 and 7, because they're your years that you're absorbing everything. You sort of, that's where you absorb everything in that 0 to 7 bracket. And then that bracket between 7 and 12 is your kind of perception, where you make up your perception of the world. And a lot of it always goes back to a childhood experience. And a lot of the time you'll find that subconsciously, without you even realizing, you build on them issues that happened to you as in a child as you grow through the years. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse until such time, like I did, you have a breakdown. And I do a lot of work as well on muscle dispensation, which is where you might have a crooked neck or a crooked back, or even a gastral problem, like a gastrointestinal problem, because you can find 80 to 90% of the time a muscular problem or a bowel problem can be associated to an emotion from a childhood. And then you've just um, stacked it, the emotional stacking over the years, because you've not dealt with it in the childhood years. And it's amazing how often that occurs. It's really amazing when you start looking at how common it is.
Yeah, yeah. We certainly. The trouble is, with men, they don't ask for help much. I get a lot of women on here who does all these support groups, wellness coaches, and I say to them, the trouble is, you do. It's all women, but you don't do men. And they say,
No.
Steve, but the trouble is, men don't come to us now because you know they just kind of like tend to hide their feelings away,
Mm.
and really they need to open more. Do you agree with that?
I do. It's the kind of stigma around it as well, I'd say, and then the masculinity. You have to be bold for your family. You have to be the rock, if you like. So you can't, you can't be the one that's being seen to be breaking down. You have to be the big macho guy. You have to provide for your family. You have to pay the bills, put a roof over their heads and stuff. So, and it's not cool, is it, to be that guy that's crying and broken down, which in reality, really, that's the most important bit. Like, to do the crying and to do the breaking down is okay. It's good for you, because once you've released that story and let that story go and release that emotion, you're not carrying it anymore. Like, I
Yeah.
like to say it as if you imagine you've got a rucksack on your back, and in that rucksack is a load of stones, and each stone is an emotion, and the bigger the stone, the bigger the emotion. And you can imagine, if you're carrying that rucksack on your back and it's full of stones, that can be extremely heavy. And until you start taking them stones out and releasing them and throwing them emotions away, you're carrying that pain around with you all the time. So it can get pretty intense, till, they can be, you could be hospitalized, you can have a lot of trouble with your back, etc., etc. There's a lot of connection between an emotion and the physical pain. And I think men kind of just mask it, and it's like, oh, all right, just take some painkillers, and I'll just go to the doctors. And then really it's kind of like unoppressed emotions or unreleased emotions, and emotions that are not dealt with. And I think going back to where you said about men don't really like to open up and talk about things is I've just recently been going to a thing called, I'm going to put another shout out here to Andy's Man Club. And them guys are awesome. And they do groups. There's 65, I think 68 maybe sites across the country. And it's a peer-to-peer support group for men to go and share their stuff, and it's a safe environment for men to share their story and let anything that's on, like, let all their stuff that's off their chest, get rid of them emotions and get rid of that, anything that might be niggling on them or anything that might be getting them angry or upset or anything. And it's just such a great place. They're doing such a good job, and it's nice that there's things now available for men like that to be able to go and release all their stuff, because it's really important to release it and not hold on to it. That's my big thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, because the trouble is, if we keep on building up all the time with our problems, or, or our emotions, as you're saying, one minute, you don't know, we might kick out on somebody like our partner, because we don't kind of like actually let go. You know what I mean? And I
Very
think,
much so.
sometimes, that's where abuse comes in because of the past, and if we don't deal with our abuse, then and if we attempt to kick out on our partners, they don't deserve that.
No,
And
no.
they don't deserve that. So we need to talk. I think men need to talk more, and the trouble is, but we don't. But I'm glad that Andy. I've heard about Andy. I've heard about his support groups and everything. He's
Yeah.
done really, really well. And
Oh, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. What I mean, for men, to have somewhere to go like that in a safe environment
mm,
and to be able to release that, it's just brilliant. It's just absolutely amazing. And then the thing is as well, it's where, you know like you say, and like I say, the more you hold on to it, the harder it becomes. And then I think
mm,
as well, with a lot of the drug and alcohol addiction problems, as opposed to going at it with kind of like, oh, they've got a problem, throw them in there. What they don't look at is, how did the problem start and why are they on the alcohol and the drugs anyway in the first place? And I think,
yeah,
9 times out of 10, you'll find that if you go down into the deep root causes of why they started doing that in the first place, you'll find that it comes from a childhood abuse or trauma,
mm,
generally 9 times out of 10. I mean, I know that because I've been there. I'm not saying that's like that for everyone, but
mm,
it's a common thing, that it seems to be a common theme, that anyone that's sort of had problems with alcohol abuse or drug abuse have had some sort of problem in the past. They've had to deal with some sort of abuse or trauma from their past, and the reason for the alcohol and the drugs is to hide that and suppress them emotions. But the trouble is, it doesn't go away like that, because it's all
yeah,
still there. You have to go through it with counseling, therapy, whatever, mindfulness, meditation, whatever sort of floats your boat. Go for a walk, go cycling, and whatever. There's many different ways you can deal with it. You can do journaling, write a diary. I mean, it sounds pretty silly for a man, to say, oh, you write a diary, but effectively that's what a journal is. And it's
mm.
I remember being at school, and all the girls are writing a diary, and it'd be like, oh, Joe Bloggs kissed me last Friday.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
the girls used to write their emotions, didn't they, in a diary? And that's
Mhm.
what journal's good for. It's kind of like a diary for a man, if you like, and just write journals down in the morning. First thing you get up in the morning, before you even look at your phone, is to write your emotions down. And I found it was such an easier way to deal with them, because you could kind of analyze them, if you like, and sort of file them and know what to do next, if you
Yeah,
like, if that makes sense.
yeah.
It was
And the
definitely
trouble
good.
is, so you can all these doctors just say, yeah, you've been diagnosed with whatever your depression, say, and or something else. But the trouble is, you know, it's like a psychiatrist. They can say that too. But the trouble is, they don't really know what you've been through. So
No.
really, they can only diagnose you as they think what it is. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And I remember when I tried to commit suicide. off Tamar Bridge, in Cornwall. And the trouble is, when I was on that edge of that bridge, it was it was saying to me, I was saying to myself, well, do you really want to die? And at that particular time, I did want to die, right? Because we all bottle things up, and it came to a time where that I kind of like I've had enough. But
Yeah.
then when the police took me, I didn't get in trouble with the police. They took me, and I was put on the Section 21 of the Mental Health Act. I had to go to this acute mental health unit. And please
Yeah.
believe me, guys, when I say about mental health unit, it's not what it seems to be on television, something like that. It's not.
No.
But it's not. Don't and I went there, and I got the help what I wanted, and I thought to myself, oh my God, did I try to actually jump up a bridge?
Mm,
And
yeah.
but we need to talk with your business or
We
what
need
you
to
do
talk.
now. Sorry.
Go on. Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say we do need to talk. Yeah, but go on. Carry on.
Yeah,
What you
yeah.
going to say?
With your business now and what you do, um, if people want to come and kind of like contact you or who needs help, who's listening now, right? On the radio, we've got a few people listening on the radio now,
Yeah.
if, and they're leaving me messages. So what I'll do is I'll tell you what the messages are in a minute. If anybody wants to contact you, how would they contact you to
You
get the
can
help?
find me on every social media platform there is. It's Gav M, the identity coach. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, any of the above. Or you can also email me at gavmcoaching.com or at google.com. Sorry.
Google.com. Okay. Okay.
Gmail. Sorry, Gmail, not Google. Gmail. Yes.
Gmail. Okay. Um, what was that?
I have no idea. It
Hello.
stops now, whatever it was.
Yeah. Martin says, "Hi, Gav. Would it be possible if you could tell me where I can find out more information about your business?"
Yeah, like I say, it's all on. You can go on Facebook, and there's a lot more information about it on there. I've a WordPress site which is the identitycoach.wordpress.com. I've also got a page on Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. So all the
TikTok.
information of everything I do is on there. The website, it gives you various details of the different coaches packages that I do. I do a 90-day program. I do a 60-day program. And there's lots of videos on there that you can link to, and it tells you more about my story and what I do a bit more in depth as well. Yeah.
Okay. Ray wants to know, can you ask Gavin about charges? What is his charges? How
But
much do you charge?
it depends. I've got different prices for different packages. So when you go into the website, it links you through to all the different pages, and each page will have the different price for each package to whatever it be on there.
Okay. Okay. And what else is it? Oh, right. Um, Rachel wants to know, how do I contact Gavin because my old man needs some help. He's been acting like a pain in the backside lately, and we need to get him some help. But
Awesome.
yeah,
You can email me at gavmcoaching@gmail.com.
there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Or find me on any social media platform, i.e. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of the like, all of the above.
Um, what's that? Rob wants to know. I, Gavin. I go to Men's Shed. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
The what,
Men
sorry?
Men Shed.
The men's shed.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
local. That's along the south coast as well, isn't it? Yes.
yeah, yeah. We got Men's Shed where we live. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, they're quite a big thing, I think. Yeah.
yeah. That's good. Yeah, they go in there, do some woodwork and stuff like that, and
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I spoke to a guy about doing a bit of work with him somewhere along the line next year, I think. So yeah, we did speak about that. that's in
Yeah,
the
Wednesday's
balance.
quite good. Yeah, really good, really good. So, and with your programs and everything, it's all done on Zoom. Is that right?
It's all done on Zoom, yeah, or Zoom or Skype, whatever, whoever preference of whatever person, I prefer to do it on Skype and Zoom because it's better because you can see each other, and it's a bit more interactive as opposed to just being on the phone.
Yeah.
I am setting up one-to-one coaching sessions next year, face to face. But obviously with everything that's been going on, the venues are a bit iffy
Yeah.
and all over the place. So
Yeah.
we're just holding it off now until next year in January, and we'll be doing more one-to-one face-to-face stuff next year.
And if you do some support groups on Facebook, let me know because I'd love to join.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I say, we do Andy's Man Club every Monday down in Littlehampton, and there's 68 sites across the country. So if you go onto Andy's Man Club on the internet on their webpage, you can find a local site that's somewhere conveniently closer to you somewhere.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
No
Thanks,
worries.
Gavin, for joining us, and thank
Pleasure.
you for your help. Thank you. Bye bye.
You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.